The breaking point. Alan Foster took a deep breath as he approached the grand podium. The Galactic Council chamber stretched before him, its crystalline dome revealing the swirling nebula above. Representatives from 200 species watched with their various eyes, appendages, and sensory organs. Some leaned forward with interest. Most did not. For 3 centuries, humanity has served the Council. Alan began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. We have offered our innovations, our labor, our soldiers, and our resources. We have followed your regulations and accepted your limitations. The Zithric representative, Ambassador Vrol, fluttered his gill membranes in obvious boredom. The Elorans, as usual, were engaged in their private mental communications, ignoring the human entirely. Today, I stand before you not to ask for recognition or to plead for respect. Alan continued. I come to inform you that as of this moment, Earth and all human colonies formally withdraw from the Galactic Council. A ripple of surprise moved through the chamber. The Zithrac's boredom vanished. The Elorans' mental communion broke. For the first time in years, Alan had their full attention. You cannot simply leave, the presider said, her 4 arms spreading wide. The Accords require a 100-year transition period for the same Accords that were violated when the Council seized human mining operations in the TA system, or when human research was classified as potentially destabilizing for the 40th time. Ellen's voice remained calm. We have documented 832 violations by the Council against Earth. The Accords are already broken. The chamber erupted in angry shouts and protests. Alan stood silently, waiting for the noise to subside. Aboard the U.S. Horizon, Captain Olivia Martinez watched the broadcast from orbit above the Council homeworld. Her orders were clear. Once Ambassador Foster finished his speech, she was to escort him and the remaining human diplomats home. After that, the last official human presence in Council space would vanish. Communications, send the alert to all human ships, she ordered. Prepare for immediate departure on my mark. On the view screen, Ambassador Foster continued. Humanity will no longer provide maintenance for the transit relay network. We will no longer update the translation matrices. We will no longer provide the innovations you have consistently claimed as your own while keeping us at arm's length. The Eloran Prime rose from her seat, her crystalline form catching the light. You overestimate your importance, human. The Council existed for millennia before your kind learned to split the atom. Perhaps, Ellen nodded. But I wonder how well you'll function without us now that you've grown dependent on our work. At that moment, across the vast expanse of Council space, human technicians began the synchronized shutdown of systems they had quietly maintained for generations, not with violence or sabotage, but simply by walking away. Captain Martinez received the signal that Ambassador Foster was returning to the ship. Prepare for immediate departure, she ordered. Set course for Earth. As the horizon broke orbit, Martins noticed something strange on her sensor readings. What's that energy fluctuation? She asked her science officer. Unknown, Captain. It appeared the moment we initiated departure procedures. It's as if something is responding to our withdrawal. Deep in Earth's monitoring stations, similar readings were being detected, strange pulses that seemed to echo across the fabric of space itself, as if the universe itself noticed humanity's decision. When Alan Foster arrived on the bridge, his face showed exhaustion but also relief. It's done, he said. How do you feel? Martins asked. Like we just jumped off a cliff, Alan replied. But for the first time in generations, we get to decide where we land. As the horizon jumped to faster-than-light travel, neither they nor the Council could know that humanity's departure would become not just a political statement, but the first tremor of a galactic earthquake that would reshape everything. The first step into a new age had been taken. The Council would soon learn what humanity's absence truly meant. 6 months had passed since Earth's withdrawal. Captain Olivia Martinez stood on the bridge of the U.S. Horizon, watching the border sensors. Her ship now led the patrol fleet guarding human space. The screen showed unusual activity. More alien vessels approached their territory each week. Another Council merchant ship requesting emergency docking. "Captain," said Lieutenant Ryan Clark. "That's the 5th this month." Martinez nodded. "Same problem as the others." "Yes, Mom. Navigation systems failing. They can't calculate safe jumps anymore." The first reports had come 3 months after the withdrawal. Small issues at first, translation errors, data corruption. Now critical systems were failing across Council space. The proud aliens who had dismissed humans were discovering an uncomfortable truth. Humans had quietly kept their technology working for centuries. "Let them dock," Martinez ordered. "Standard protocols. No technology transfers, just humanitarian aid." Across the galaxy, on the Council world Viridian, a respected Zithrek scientist named Kaltar entered a small house on the outskirts of what had once been the human district. Most humans had left, but a few remained. "Mr. Winters," Kaltar called out. George Winters appeared from his workshop. At 68, he was one of the few human engineers who had chosen to stay behind. His hands were stained with mechanical grease. "I told your Council I'm retired," George said. "Have been for years. The central navigation matrix is failing," Coulter said, desperation in his voice. 3 ships lost last week, hundreds dead." George's expression softened slightly. "I warned them. For 20 years, I filed reports about the decay in the system core. Your leaders marked them low priority." "We didn't understand," Coulter admitted. "The systems always worked. We never questioned how." Back on Earth, scientists were making breakthroughs daily. Without Council restrictions, innovation flourished. Research that had been banned was now advancing rapidly. Earth was experiencing a renaissance. Admiral William Hayes oversaw the new defense initiative from Earth Command. His screens displayed the expanding human fleet, ships designed without Council limitations. "Admiral," his aide said, "we're picking up a distress call from Proxima Colony. It's from the Teln." Hayes frowned. The Teln had been Earth's closest allies on the Council before the withdrawal. "Play it," he ordered. The message was fragmented but clear. "Earth, please. Systems failing. Pirates in the outer sectors. Council cannot protect. Need help." Martinez noticed something on her long-range scans. Foreign vessels approaching. Not Council designs. "Identification?" she asked. "Unknown, Captain. They're not broadcasting IDs." This was new. Since the withdrawal, Council ships had approached for help, but these were different, more predatory. On Viridian, George examined the navigation core as Kaltar watched anxiously. "The quantum alignment is completely off," George said. "When's the last time this was calibrated?" 3 Earth years ago," Coulter replied. "When your team was still here." George shook his head. "It needed calibration every 6 months. That was in all our reports." He understood then why the Council systems were failing. It wasn't just maintenance, it was the subtle human touch, the improvisation and adaptability that aliens had dismissed as unnecessary. On Earth, Admiral Hayes called an emergency meeting. The reports from all sectors told the same story. Council space was destabilizing. Trade routes were collapsing. Pirates and opportunists were moving into undefended systems. "We have a choice," Hayes told Earth's leadership. "We can let them face this alone, or we can help." Before they could decide, a message arrived. A Council diplomatic vessel was approaching Earth orbit, requesting permission to land. The Grand Presider herself was aboard. The universe was changing. The tremors of humanity's departure were becoming quakes, and neither humans nor aliens knew where it would end. But one thing was becoming clear. Humanity's role had been far greater than anyone had ever acknowledged. Lieutenant Kate Simmons stared at the data scrolling across her screen. For weeks, she had been analyzing Council archives brought back by returning human diplomats. What she found shocked her. "Admiral Hayes, you need to see this," she said, gesturing to the older man who had just entered the research lab. William Hayes looked over her shoulder at the classified council records. His expression darkened as he read. "They deliberately blocked our advancements," he asked, though the evidence was clear. "Every major human innovation of the past century," Kate confirmed. "Quantum communication, gravity manipulation, cellular regeneration, all classified as potentially destabilizing. They buried our research while secretly studying it themselves." Hayes shook his head. "And now their attempts to replicate our work are failing." Outside the research facility, Earth was transforming. New buildings rose with designs that would have violated council architectural codes. Transport ships moved with technologies previously forbidden. Freedom had unleashed human creativity in ways no one had anticipated. In orbit above Earth, the council delegation waited. The presider herself, along with representatives from 7 major species, had come to speak with Earth's leadership. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez worked late in her laboratory. Without council restrictions on energy research, she had developed a propulsion system that could reduce travel time between stars by 70%. Under council law, such research would have been banned for disrupting established trade routes. Dr. Rodriguez, her assistant, called. "They're ready for the test." Lisa nodded and activated the prototype. The energy core glowed, stable and powerful. Another breakthrough that would have been impossible 6 months ago. In the void of space, ships drifted powerless. The silent lanes between stars, once busy with council traffic, now saw only desperate vessels trying to reach safe harbor. The trade network that had connected thousands of worlds for centuries was collapsing. On a remote monitoring station, a human technician watched as another distress call came in. "They can't navigate without the algorithms we maintained," he told his supervisor. "The system is too complex for them to repair quickly." The supervisor nodded. "They never bothered to learn how it worked. They just expected us to keep it running." In the grand meeting chamber of Earth's capital, the council delegation faced humanity's leaders. The presider, her 4 arms positioned in formal supplication, spoke first. "We acknowledge that the council underestimated Earth's contributions," she said, each word clearly painful. "The systems you maintained were more essential than we understood." Admiral Hayes stood tall. "You didn't underestimate us. You actively suppressed us." He nodded to Lieutenant Simmons, who displayed the classified records for all to see. The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. "You feared our potential," Hayes continued. "So you hindered our progress while becoming dependent on our abilities." The Zithrek representative, Ambassador Vrol, stepped forward. "What you say has truth, but now piracy spreads across council space. Trade routes fail. Medical supplies don't reach outer colonies. People are dying," added the Ellerin Prime, her crystalline form dimmed with what might have been shame. "We request Earth's assistance in stabilizing the galactic infrastructure." Earth's president looked to her advisors. Admiral Hayes gave a slight nod. "We will consider humanitarian aid," the president said. "But the old relationship is gone. Any cooperation will be as equals, not subordinates." As the meeting continued, Lieutenant Simmons received an urgent message. She slipped out to the communication center. "Confirm that report," she ordered. The officer nodded. "Confirmed, Lieutenant. Multiple unidentified vessels have appeared at the edge of former council space. They're not responding to hails, and they're moving toward populated systems." Something new was emerging from the chaos. The council's weakened state had created a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. The tremors of Earth's departure were becoming something more. An opportunity for forces that had waited centuries for the council to falter. The silent void between stars was silent no longer. The council representative trembled slightly as he delivered his report to the emergency session. His translator device flickered, another sign of failing technology. 3 more colony worlds have gone dark," he said. "The Mraxian scouts grow bolder. They no longer hide their presence." Admiral Hayes exchanged glances with Earth's president. The Mraxian Empire had been myth to most humans, ancient enemies of the Council, driven to the edges of the galaxy centuries ago. Now they were returning. What defenses can the Council deploy? Hayes asked. The alien's skin flushed a deep blue, embarrassment in his species. Our unified defense fleet is not unified. Without the navigation systems, coordinating ships is nearly impossible. Many worlds have recalled their vessels to protect their own systems. In her laboratory, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez made the final adjustments to the prototype engine. Her new propulsion system would revolutionize space travel and warfare. The field tests exceeded expectations, she told George Winters, who had been brought back from Viridian to consult. Ships equipped with this drive could reach the outer colonies in hours instead of days. George studied the diagrams with amazement. The Council would never have permitted this research. That was their mistake, Lisa replied. They thought restriction created stability. On the border of human space, Captain Martinez watched her scanners with growing concern. Patrol ships reported increased activity near the abandoned Council outposts. Not just Council vessels seeking help, but unknown ships moving with purpose. Analysis confirms their Mraxian design, her tactical officer reported. Their technology appears far more advanced than Council intelligence suggested. They've been preparing, Martinez realized. All this time, they were preparing while the Council grew complacent. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Simmons briefed Admiral Hayes on her latest findings. The Mraxians have been infiltrating Council systems for decades, she explained, displaying intercepted communications. They planted subtle weaknesses, knowing that eventually they could exploit them. And our withdrawal was the trigger they were waiting for, Hayes concluded. The Council delegation requested another meeting with Earth's leadership. This time, their pride was completely gone. We acknowledge a difficult truth, the presider said, her voice subdued. The Council underestimated not only humanity's importance, but also the threat beyond our borders. We believed our dominance was natural law. Pride is a luxury of the secure, Earth's president replied. Something we were never permitted. Reports from the frontier grew worse. Pirates, some independent, some clearly Mraxian-backed, seized control of trade lanes. Vulnerable colonies faced starvation or surrender. The Council's grand unity was revealing itself to be a facade that had been maintained partly by human ingenuity. In a secure meeting room, Earth's leadership debated their response. Why should we help them? Asked the defense minister. They suppressed us for centuries. Because innocent people are suffering, Captain Martinez countered, joining remotely from her ship. Most citizens of Council worlds never knew what their leaders were doing. Hayes studied the strategic projections. If the Mraxians establish control over former Council space, they won't stop there. Earth would eventually face them alone. Earth's scientists and engineers, freed from restrictions, had made remarkable progress. New ships were being built, faster and more powerful than anything the Council had permitted. The question wasn't whether Earth could help, but whether it should. Dr. Rodriguez presented her findings to the Leadership Council. We can equip a relief fleet with the new drives within 2 weeks. They could stabilize the key transit points and deliver critical supplies. That evening, as Hayes looked out at the stars from Earth Command, he received word that 3 smaller species had formally broken from the Council. Their ambassadors were requesting immediate talks with Earth. They're asking for protection, his aide explained. They say they'd rather ally with humans than wait for the Council to collapse completely. The ripples of humanity's departure were becoming waves. The galaxy was realigning itself, and Earth was becoming the center of gravity. Captain Olivia Martinez stood on the bridge of the U.S. horizon as her ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Before them loomed a massive Mraxian scout vessel, its black hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They're powering weapons, Lieutenant Clark warned. Evasive pattern delta, Martinez ordered calmly. No aggressive moves, but shield at maximum. The horizon banked sharply as green energy pulses streaked past. Martinez had been mapping Mraxian movements for weeks, but this was her first direct encounter. We can't match their firepower, the tactical officer said. "We don't need to fight them," Martins replied. "Just study them." The horizon shuddered as a glancing hit struck its shields. Martinez ordered a strategic retreat, collecting valuable data as they withdrew. The Mraxians were testing boundaries, probing for weaknesses. Back on Earth, the arrival of the Vanthi ambassador caused a stir. The insectoid species had been council members for millennia, far longer than humanity. "The council is fracturing," the Vanthi explained to Admiral Hayes. "Many worlds now see that the old order was built on suppression of innovation." "Why come to us?" Hayes asked. "Because you survived without them, and because you create rather than merely maintain." The Vanthi were not alone. Representatives from the Solari Federation and the Naren Collective had also arrived seeking alliance. Earth was becoming the center of a new coalition, worlds that valued progress over tradition. Dr. Rodriguez and George Winters worked tirelessly to adapt the new propulsion technology for defense applications. "If we can generate the field at a distance," Lisa suggested, "we could disrupt Mraxian drives." George nodded, his experienced hands adjusting the prototype. The Council would have classified this as destabilizing technology and locked it away. "Their loss," Lisa replied. "Our gain." Earth officially established the Terran Cooperative, with 7 former Council species. Unlike the hierarchical Council, the Cooperative operated on principles of equal exchange and shared advancement. The Council, meanwhile, descended into internal conflict. The Zithrak blamed the Elorans for the crisis. The Elorans accused the Presider of incompetence. Ancient rivalries resurfaced as the facade of unity crumbled. Martinez returned from her encounter with the Mraxians and reported directly to Hayes. "Their technology is advanced," she explained, "but not in ways we expected. They've developed along entirely different lines, weaponizing dimensional physics in ways the Council never explored. Or prevented others from exploring," Hayes added. Martinez nodded. "The good news is they seem cautious. They're testing responses, not committing to full invasion yet." "That gives us time," Hayes said. "Not much, but some." The newly formed cooperative quickly proved its value. The Vanthi shared biological computing techniques. The Solari offered advanced shield harmonics. Earth contributed its propulsion breakthroughs. Together, they accomplished in weeks what might have taken decades under Council restrictions. Lieutenant Simmons continued analyzing Mraxian movements, looking for patterns. "They're isolating specific systems," she reported, "particularly those with quantum communication relays. They're cutting off communications before attacking." Hayes realized. Classic strategy. A distress call arrived from a Naren colony world. Martinez and the Horizon were dispatched with a small fleet of newly equipped ships. They arrived to find the colony under siege by Mraxian forces. "Captain," Clark called out, "the Mraxians are jamming all standard communications." Martinez smiled. "Activate the Rodriguez-Winters field generator." The new device came online, temporarily disrupting the Mraxian ship's dimensional drives. The enemy vessels suddenly found themselves without their technological advantage. "Now hail the colony," Martinez ordered. For the first time, Mraxian forces retreated in confusion. It was a small victory, but symbolically important. The news spread quickly through the former Council space. The humans had found a weakness in the supposedly invincible Mraxians. That evening, 5 more species formally requested to join the Terran Cooperative. The universe was realigning itself. What had begun as Earth's isolation was becoming Earth's opportunity to reshape galactic society, not through dominance as the Council had done, but through genuine cooperation. And beyond the frontier, the Mraxian Empire took notice. The Mraxian attack began without warning. One moment, the border systems were reporting normal activity. The next, massive warships emerged from dimensional rifts throughout former Council space. This was no raid or probe. It was full invasion. They hit 23 systems simultaneously, Lieutenant Simmons reported, her voice steady despite the chaos displayed on the command center screens. The Council defense fleet is scattered and unable to coordinate. Admiral Hayes studied the strategic map, watching red indicators spread across what had once been secure space. They were waiting for the Council to weaken enough, he said quietly, and we gave them that opportunity when we left. Earth's leadership gathered in emergency session. The Mraxian advance was faster than anyone had predicted. At the current rate, they would reach Earth's allies within days and Earth itself within weeks. We have 3 options, Hayes explained. Defend only our territory, protect our cooperative partners, or launch a full counter-offensive to aid even former Council worlds. The defense minister frowned. Why should we help those who suppressed us for centuries? Because billions of innocent lives are at stake, Hayes replied. And because if the Mraxians absorb the Council's resources, they'll be unstoppable. On the front lines, Captain Martinez's fleet engaged Mraxian forces near the Solari homeworld. The new propulsion disruptors gave human ships an advantage, but the Mraxians were adapting quickly. They're adjusting their dimensional fields, Lieutenant Clark warned. Disruptor effectiveness down 30%. Martinez watched as a Solari cruiser erupted into flames. Concentrate fire on their flagship. All ships, pattern Omega. Her small fleet moved with precision that surprised even the disciplined Mraxians. Without Council restrictions, human tactical systems had evolved rapidly. The battle was fierce, but ended with the Mraxian forces retreating. For now, back on Earth, the decision was made. Humanity would stand not just for itself, but for all worlds threatened by the Mraxian advance. Dispatch relief fleets to the outer colonies, Hayes ordered. Priority to evacuation of civilians from systems we can't defend. Dr. Rodriguez worked frantically to improve the dimensional disruptors. They're learning to counter our technology, she told George Winters. We need something they won't expect. George studied the Mraxian scan data. Their dimensional technology has a quantum signature unlike anything I've seen. If we can identify that pattern, we could potentially create a cascading disruption. Lisa finished his thought. But we'd need to deploy it at the heart of their fleet. The Council capital world of Elysium, once the proud center of galactic governance, now stood nearly defenseless. The Presider and remaining loyal species had fallen back to this world as their last bastion. Lieutenant Simmons brought Hayes troubling news. The Mraxians have surrounded Elysium. They're demanding unconditional surrender of all Council authority. Hayes frowned. Why demand surrender when they could simply attack? They want something on Elysium, Simmons realized. Something important enough to delay their advance. Earth's fleet, combined with ships from the Terran Cooperative, assembled at the edge of the Elysium system. Captain Martinez, promoted to fleet commander, addressed the gathered forces. Today we fight not for the Council that suppressed us, but for the future we choose to build, she said. The Mraxians offer only domination. We offer something better. The battle for Elysium began as the Earth fleet dropped out of FTL. The Mraxian armada was massive, hundreds of ships arranged in perfect formation around the planet. Dr. Rodriguez and George Winters had completed their new disruption device just in time. But deploying it would require getting close to the Mraxian command ship, a seemingly impossible task. Martinez analyzed the Mraxian formation and found what she was looking for, a pattern, a predictability born of their supreme confidence. All ships, execute Operation Sunbreak, she ordered. The Earth fleet split into precisely calculated groups, attacking from multiple vectors in a pattern that forced the Mraxians to respond according to their rigid battle doctrine. Exactly as Martinez had predicted. As the main fleets engaged, a small strike team led by Lieutenant Clark approached the Mraxian command ship, carrying the Rodriguez Winters device. On Elysium's surface, the Presider watched the battle unfold in orbit above. After centuries of dismissing humans as barely worthy of Council membership, she now found herself hoping, praying that humanity would arrive in time to save them all. The memorial stood in Earth's central plaza, a simple yet powerful monument. Names of all species who had fallen in the Mraxian conflict were etched in a spiral pattern. Human names interspersed with alien ones, no hierarchy or separation. Admiral Olivia Martinez, her captain's uniform exchanged for an admiral's insignia, placed her hand on the cool stone. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Elysium. The deployment of the Rodriguez-Winters device had created a cascading dimensional disruption throughout the Mraxian fleet, disabling their ships and forcing their surrender. What historians now call the 11-Day War had ended with the Mraxian Empire's complete collapse. Thinking about Clark, Admiral Hayes asked, joining her by the memorial. Martinez nodded. Lieutenant Ryan Clark had led the strike team that delivered the device to the Mraxian command ship. His team succeeded, but Clark never returned. He believed in what we were building, she said, not domination, but partnership. Earth had changed profoundly. Once empty diplomatic quarters now buzzed with representatives from 50 species. The Terran Cooperative had expanded rapidly after the Mraxian defeat, as worlds sought membership in the new galactic order. In the Science Academy, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez and George Winters oversaw a mixed team of human and alien researchers. Their lab had become the center of a collaborative approach to technological advancement. The Vanthe crystalline matrix integrates perfectly with our propulsion system, Lisa explained to visiting officials. Together, we've achieved efficiency that neither species could reach alone. George nodded. The Council suppressed cross-species innovation because it threatened their control. We encourage it because it makes us all stronger. In what had once been the Council chamber on Elysium, representatives gathered for the signing of the Galactic Charter. Unlike the hierarchical council, the new organization operated on principles of equal representation and shared advancement. We recognize that diversity of thought and approach is not a weakness to be controlled, but a strength to be harnessed, Earth's president declared to the assembled delegates. The old council feared change. We embrace it. The former presider, now serving as just one representative among many, approached Admiral Hayes after the ceremony. I did not believe this day would come, she admitted. When your people left the council, I thought it signaled the end of galactic unity. Hayes smiled. It was the end of false unity. What we're building now is genuine. Lieutenant Kate Simmons, now Director of Intelligence, had spent months studying recovered Mraxian records. Her findings had shocked the galaxy. The Mraxians were watching for centuries, she explained during her presentation to the charter members. They recognized that the Council's suppression of innovation, particularly of human innovation, was creating system-wide weaknesses. They exploited what the Council created. In Earth orbit, the newly commissioned exploration vessel Horizon II prepared for its maiden voyage. Admiral Martinez would command this mission not of war, but of discovery, venturing beyond known space with a crew representing 12 species. Our strength was never our technology, Martinez told her diverse crew during their first briefing. It was our adaptability, our willingness to question and change. That's what the Council feared, what the Mraxians underestimated, and what will carry us forward. In a small research outpost on the edge of known space, scientists monitored strange energy readings similar to those detected when Earth first left the Council. The universe itself seemed to be responding to the new balance forming among its sentient species. The patterns suggest a harmonic response in subspace, a Solari physicist explained, as if the fabric of reality approves of our cooperation. Back on Earth, children from a dozen worlds played in parks that had once been closed to non-humans. Schools taught shared history rather than council-approved narratives. Trade flowed freely without the artificial restrictions that had maintained the old power structures. What had begun with humanity's departure from a broken system had culminated in something greater than anyone had imagined. The tremors of that decision had indeed shaken the universe, not to destroy it, but to rebuild it stronger. As the Horizon Aya departed on its mission of exploration, Admiral Martinez looked at the stars before her, each one representing not just worlds to discover but partnerships to forge. New course, new speed, new purpose, she ordered. Let's see what we can build together. 5 years had passed since the formation of the Galactic Charter. The universe had settled into a new rhythm, one of cooperation and shared progress. But Admiral Olivia Martinez knew that peace required vigilance. The Horizon Eye hovered at the edge of uncharted space. Its mission of exploration had taken Martinez and her multi-species crew farther than any known ship had traveled. They had discovered 17 habitable worlds and made first contact with 4 previously unknown intelligent species. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy readings from Sector Gamma 9, reported her Vanthi science officer. Martinez studied the readings on her display, similar to the dimensional rifts the Mraxians used. "No, Admiral, this is something entirely new. On Earth, George Winters celebrated his 75th birthday, surrounded by students from a dozen worlds. The engineering academy he had founded had become the most prestigious in known space. The secret isn't the technology, he told a young Naren student who asked for advice. It's understanding why we build it, and who we build it for. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez joined the celebration late, her expression serious as she pulled George aside. "We detected something in the quantum field," she said quietly. "A disturbance unlike anything we've seen before." George's eyes widened. "Natural or artificial?" "That's what worries me," Lisa replied. "It appears to be both." In the Charter headquarters on Elysium, Director Kate Simmons presented her findings to the Security Council. The chamber, once dominated by council hierarchy, now formed a perfect circle with representatives seated as equals. "The anomalies appear in 7 distinct regions," she explained. "Each one precedes unusual stellar activity." "Are we facing a new threat?" asked the Solari representative. Kate shook her head. "I don't believe it's hostile. It appears to be observing." Admiral Hayes, now serving as Earth's Charter representative, studied the data carefully. "Something is taking notice of our new galactic organization." Aboard the Horizon Aya, Martinez ordered the ship to approach the energy readings cautiously. As they drew closer, the phenomenon became visible, a swirling pattern of light that seemed to fold space around itself. "All sensors at maximum," she ordered, "but keep our distance." As the ship's instruments focused on the phenomenon, a surprising message appeared on the communication system. Not in words or standard signals, but in mathematical patterns that the ship's computer slowly translated. "It's a greeting," the communications officer said with astonishment. "From within the phenomenon." On Earth, scientists detected similar patterns appearing in quantum fields worldwide. Lisa Rodriguez recognized the significance immediately. "It's the universe itself," she whispered, "or at least entities that exist within its fabric." The patterns revealed a stunning truth. Dimensional beings had existed alongside physical space for eons, observing but never interacting. The Mraxian dimensional technology had disturbed them, but the new balance established by the Charter had created harmony that allowed contact. "They've been watching us all along," George realized, "waiting for us to mature." Martinez established the first meaningful communication with the dimensional entities. Their existence operated on principles beyond conventional understanding, but their message was clear. The cooperation between diverse species had created resonance patterns that strengthened the very fabric of reality. "They're offering to share knowledge," Martinez reported back to Earth, "but not technology. They say we must develop that ourselves." The Charter convened a special session to discuss this unprecedented contact. What had begun with humans leaving the Council had culminated in not just a new galactic order, but contact with an entirely new form of life. 5 years ago, we believed we were building a better political system, Hayes told the Assembly. We didn't realize we were aligning ourselves with the fundamental nature of the universe itself. The dimensional beings revealed that the tremors detected when Earth left the Council were the first hints of this alignment. The universe adjusting to a healthier pattern of interaction among its inhabitants. As Martinez continued first contact procedures, she reflected on the journey. Humanity had left the Council feeling isolated and unappreciated. That departure had shaken the galaxy, bringing destruction but also renewal. Now it had opened doors to realms beyond imagination. We never wanted to rule, she thought. We just wanted to build something better. And in that desire, they had found partners not just among the stars, but within the very fabric of existence itself.